Ever bite into a burger that looked nothing like the one on the billboard? That's not an accident. Behind every glossy pizza pull, every foamy latte that never collapses, and every slice of cake with frosting smoother than silk, there's an entire hidden industry. The world of fake food. It's an empire worth billions, built not on taste, but on sight. Not on feeding your stomach, but on tricking your brain. And nowhere on earth has this strange craft been perfected more than in Japan, where fake food became both a science and an art form. The story begins in post-war Japan. Restaurants needed to attract customers, but menus weren't always easy to understand, especially for people who couldn't read, or tourists who didn't speak Japanese. The solution, Sampuru, from the English word sample, hyper-realistic models of the dishes themselves, placed in windows to lure you inside. At first, these models were simple wax molds with a vague resemblance to noodles, curry, or tempura. But soon, artisans began pushing the limits of realism. They weren't just recreating food, they were capturing it mid-moment. The splash of broth, the drip of sauce, the exact glisten of freshly steamed rice. By the 1960s, Sampuru wasn't just a display trick, it was a signature of Japanese hospitality. Walk down a street in Tokyo today, and you'll see entire windows filled with replicas, so perfect. Tourists take photos of them as if they were the real meals. Making fake food is not easy. It's closer to surgery than sculpting. Artisans train for years, learning how light bends on glossy noodles, how curry clings differently from miso, how lettuce isn't just green, but a spectrum of shades, veins, and translucence. They use plastic and resin now instead of wax, sculpting each ingredient by hand. A single bowl of ramen can take days to build. The noodles twisted by hand, the broth colored with layers of translucent resin, the pork slices painted with subtle gradients of pink and brown. And then there's beer, the crown jewel of fake food artistry. Perfectly golden liquid with a frothy white head, frozen in time, never spilling, never fading. The irony, many artisans admit their creations often look better than the real thing. What began as restaurant advertising has now become collectible. Tourists buy tiny tempura shrimp keychains. Locals gift plastic sushi sets as souvenirs. But for some, it goes deeper. There are collectors who pay thousands for one-of-a-kind replicas, miniature bento boxes, sculpted desserts, even fake food jewelry, made with the same craftsmanship as luxury goods. Sampuru has become pop culture. There are museums dedicated to it, workshops where tourists can make their own, and even online auctions for rare pieces from the 1950s and 60s. To own a piece of fake food is, in some ways, to own a piece of history. But here's the real question. Why do we love it? Why do we marvel at fake food when we know it's not edible? Why does a wax apple look more appealing than a real apple? Psychologists call it visual hunger. Our brains are wired to crave perfect food images. That's why food advertising is so effective, even when the food itself doesn't taste half as good. Fake food takes that craving and crystallizes it. It gives us food that never rots, never sags, never disappoints. In a world where meals vanish in minutes, fake food offers an eternal version of perfection. It's less about appetite and more about fantasy. Japan may have perfected the art, but the world is catching on. In the United States, food stylists use motor oil instead of syrup, glue instead of milk, and mashed potatoes instead of ice cream because real food simply doesn't behave on camera. In Europe, high-end restaurants now use miniature fake dishes in marketing. Even social media influencers are dabbling in fake props to sell the illusion of perfect meals. What began as practical advertising has become a global fascination. In the end, the world of fake food isn't really about tricking us. It's about showing us what we wish food looked like, forever glossy, forever golden, forever delicious. It's a mirror of our hunger for perfection, a reminder that sometimes the image of food is almost more satisfying than the taste itself. This is the secret life of fake food, a world where the meals we crave were never meant to be eaten.